Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Everyday Finance and I'm your host Bobby. If this is your first time on the channel, go ahead and smash that like and subscribe button so that you'll get notifications for future content similar to what you'll see in this video. Guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about 5 steps that you can take right now to push yourself further towards becoming a financial boss and taking control of your finances. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so 5 steps that you can take to make yourself into a financial boss or to take charge of your finances. You can do these steps right now. I also include a couple of extra tips on the back end of things that you may be able to use as well. So the first step, or step number 1, is to understand what you earn. Think about it. However you're getting paid or whatever you're getting paid for, you have to understand exactly what you are making and how much. Now, I'm not talking about that gross number that you see at the top. We're talking about the net at the very bottom. Why is it important to look at the net number versus the gross? Well, because the gross number is before anything is taken out of the money that you earn. Now, that gross number will stay static depending on whether or not you're an hourly or salaried employee versus how many hours or days you take off, things of that nature. A lot of variables go into that. But the net number is the true amount of money that you will see either in your hand, on your card, or in your bank account. Now, it's important to know this number because it's the starting block of every other step that we'll implement into this process later. All right, so with money, it's a topic that we've covered before, and it's never a dull topic. Everyone wants more money, right? Well, unfortunately, in certain instances, we all aren't given the opportunity to get more money, or we aren't given more money exactly when we need it. So one of the things that we can do in order to take advantage of what we do currently have available to us is understand what we're earning and how much. And this will set the blueprint for a lot of other steps that we'll discuss later in this video as well. Now, unfortunately, in today's market or in today's world, the cost of living along with the living expenses has been on a constant rise. And unfortunately with that, the amount that people earn has not increased at a balanced amount to meet those demands. So what we have to do sometimes is stretch the money that we currently have much more or more than we currently do. And that's part of understanding what you earn. With understanding what you currently earn, you want to quantify that specific number in terms of how much you earn on 3 instances: weekly, monthly, and annually. Why do I need this? Well, you'll need this in these 3 different instances so that you can plot out your expenses from weekly, monthly to yearly so that you can have a full picture of everything that you have coming out of your account or that you are paying. Once you understand how much you earn, you can set forward on creating or building the life that you want. All right, step number 2, control your expenses. This is probably the biggest step of the 5. Number 2, controlling your expenses is bigger. All right, so think about this. Think about everything that comes out of your account or everything that you pay every month. And you may actually want to take a piece of paper or some type of ledger or Microsoft Excel, whatever you use, and actually plot out exactly what the expense is and how much it is, and just go down in a list from the largest ones to the smallest ones. That way, what we can do is we can have a picture of all of the expenses that come out of your account or that you're spending every pay cycle or every month in this particular instance. For this example, we'll use every month. All right. Now, what we want to do is create balance. Controlling your expenses is not allowing your expenses to exceed what you earn, right? You want to give yourself an ability to have space between the two so that if any irregular or emergency expenses come about, you'll have the flexibility to be able to cover those expenses without having to place yourself in any additional debt. Now, one step that may or may not speak to everyone in terms of controlling your expenses is cutting them. All right. What we have to do is look at all the expenses that you have, let's just say this month, and look at expenses that we can cut out completely. Say it be a subscription to a Netflix, a Hulu, something of that nature that you don't use regularly, we can cut that out. Maybe it's a music subscription or a subscription to an online retailer or an extra gym membership or something of that nature. Look at the expenses that you can completely cut out of your monthly expenses, right? Okay, so now that we've cut expenses that we want to look at the rest of the expenses that we have, and we want to try to lower them as much as we can. Now, this may not be everyone's forte, but if you're truly keen on lowering your expenses and taking control of your finances, this is a very pivotal step. What we want to do is call those creditors and attempt to negotiate the bill to a lower rate or a special rate. Now, in instances of, say, cable, internet, alarms, or phone bills, these are things that we know we have the negotiating power to do. So they run, in the case of phone companies, cable companies, things of that nature, they run monthly or weekly specials that attempt to entice new customers to come and join or sign up for their services. So when pre-existing customers run into issues or they get tired of paying a specific amount every month or they deem it to be too high, then we can call in and attempt to negotiate those. Or in most instances, you can just tell them that you're going to leave and they'll throw out any specials that they currently have to try to retain you as a customer. This has happened with me with internet and cable services in the past. So if you haven't already, try to do so. You'll be surprised how much you can save both in the immediate future and long term when looking at these specific services. All right, so now that you've taken the time out to look at the different bills that you have and you try to cut them as much as you can and you've completely eliminated those that you have, now we want to look at the bigger bills and what we can do with those. The ones that in most instances aren't going anywhere. Your mortgages, your car payments, student loans, things of that nature. Now, you may not be able to in all instances, but in most cases, there are certain things that we can do in order to alleviate or lower these bills as well. In the case of a mortgage, you have the opportunity or chance to refinance if it's something that you deem to be fit at this particular time. In the case of auto bills, you have the same option with refinancing as well. With student loans, there's consolidation and different other tools that you can use in terms of deferments and things of that nature that'll give you some time, if not an opportunity, to build extra money up so that you'll have better control of your finances in the future. Step number three. Step number three is important as well. Step number three is to set a monthly budget. Okay, so we've understood exactly what we earn in terms of our net cash that we receive every month. We've taken that amount and we've looked at our expenses. We've cut out expenses that we don't use anymore, and we've lowered the monthly expenses that we have that aren't going anywhere. So now you have a roundabout number in terms of what you spend every month and also what you earn every month. Now you take those two numbers together and we'll set a budget. Okay. Now setting a budget is something that sounds relatively easy, but it isn't. In terms of laying it out on a piece of paper, a spreadsheet, Excel, however you want to do so, it's relatively easy. Actually doing it or following through with it is something that people tend to struggle with. Why? Because we tend to spend money or make implicit decisions in terms of purchases a lot while we're out and about. Now, for some of us, it's food, fast food, convenient food, things of that nature. It's different for every person. For some people, it's everyday purchases. Say if you go out to a department store or if you're going to a local retailer to get your groceries or something else and you find or see something that either has a a decent sale price, or you see something that you either need or you didn't realize that you need and you purchase it. Those are the things that we want to cut out on within the budget, because it'll allow you to have additional money so that you can do those things at a later point if you decide to do so. So budgeting, again, Truebill, another great tool that you can use in order to set a monthly amount or however you want to in terms of your budget. You also can categorize all the expenses that come out of, say, your checking or savings account, or when you use your debit card, so that they're allocated into a pie chart, and it shows you exactly where your spending is going every month, so that you can look at those and you can start to see, this is where my money is going, or this is where it isn't going and it should. Great tool that you can use to make changes to your monthly spending and make better and sound financial decisions. All right, so step number 4, set up an emergency credit card. This is an interesting one. Not a lot of people are going to understand why I'm saying this, but you want to set up an emergency credit card because an emergency credit card will give you the flexibility and it will give you the opportunity to be able to alleviate any instances of emergency or irregular expenses that you have without draining your savings, your checking account, and things of that nature. And something that we don't think about a lot is that when things like this happen, it takes a mental toll on you as well. So all of the stress that's involved with emergency expenses, especially large ones that you typically see with, say, a car repair or home repairs or something of that nature, you can alleviate with having an emergency credit card. Now, if you're someone who is a homeowner, this is just my personal suggestion. You want to have an emergency credit card that's set up to about at least $5,000. Why $5,000, you say? Well, because in the case of a homeowner, if you don't have certain insurances or warranties, home repairs can be quite expensive, especially if you're talking about something that's HVAC related or electrical or foundation issues, something of that nature. Those tend to be extremely expensive expenses. So you want to have something at least $5,000 of buying power, and you'll be able to offset any emergency costs that you have and alleviate the stress of trying to figure out where the money to pay for such an expense is coming from. Now, if you aren't a homeowner, or if you're someone that's a college student, or you're someone that's currently living in an apartment or something, you want to have at least $1,000 in terms of an emergency credit card buying power. You want to have that because typically what you'll see in those instances is someone outside of yourself running into emergency and needing some extra money, say a family member or a spouse or a friend of some sort, or you run into some type of auto problem where you have to get a tire or rim repair, you need engine repairs or something of that sort. So you want to make sure that you have an emergency credit card set up so that you don't have to deplete your checking or savings account. And you also give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that you'll be able to cover those expenses in the long run. Step number 5, guys. Step number 5 is setting up a rainy day fund. All right, so I know a lot of people are going to look at this and say, well, step number 4 and step number 5 seem very, very similar in nature. They are, but there are differences. The difference between step number 4 and 5 is that step 4 is a credit card. Step number 5 is set up through a checking account or savings account, or however you want to set this thing up. Now, you'll want to set up a rainy day fund because life tends to throw things at us that we do not either expect or we cannot predict. What do I mean by that? Well, think about life-changing events that happens throughout people's lives, whether it be childbirth, whether it be a medical emergency, say if you're in a car accident, God forbid, of course. If you're in a car accident or someone close to you has a medical emergency of some sort, you'll want to have a fund set up to where if you're in a place where you need to have money that you can allocate either for yourself or to someone else, that you'll have so. Now, the difference between having the money on a credit card versus having the money in a checking account is the way that you access it. Now, you can access money through a credit card, of course, but the thing about it is that credit cards, if you want to access cash and not actually use the card, you have what's called a cash advance that's applied to that. amount that you want to pull off of the credit card. Now, in most instances, you never want to do a cash advance on a credit card unless it is a dire emergency situation, because the percentage amount or the fees associated with it will be extremely high. So if it isn't something that you can pay off immediately, you don't want to do it. So that's why we say a rainy day fund that you'll want to have set up through a checking account where you run into no fees in terms of accessing those funds or taking them out, whether it be at a teller or through an ATM. And one of the great things about having a rainy day fund is that once you've built a rainy day fund up to a certain amount, if you have not ran into any emergency expenses or anything of that nature, everything from that particular point that you built it up to ongoing, you can take and convert it into something, say, whether it be a interest-bearing checking account or savings account, a money market account, a CD, an IRA. You can take those and you can put that extra money towards something that's long-term as well, while still having that rainy day fund available to you. But having a rainy day fund is something that you want. With the way that the world currently has been, with the job market in terms of people not being able to meet their expenses and things of that nature, you want to make sure that as much as you can, you have funds available to you that you can quickly access. This is an extra one that I want to put in there, is to pay yourself. All right. Now, people may get confused when I say pay yourself, but pay yourself is, if you're familiar with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you understand exactly what I'm saying here. But pay yourself. What I mean by that is you take whatever it is that you earn, you've cut down on your expenses. So this gives you the leeway to do this in terms of paying yourself. Take anywhere between 10 to 15% and pay yourself that money out of your net amount. Now, no one wants to take all the money that they earn and apply it directly to bills, because if you're living life that way, you're going to get extremely frustrated at some point by not being able to truly see the fruit of your labor. Paying yourself gives you the ability to do that. And the great thing about it is that you control how much you pay yourself. It doesn't have to be half of what you earn or even a quarter of that. It can be as big or as small as you want it to be, or as your income determines it to be. Now, in my personal instance, I pay myself about 10 to 15%, depending on what bills I have at that particular time or what extracurriculars I'm doing at that particular time. 10 to 15% of what I earn, I actually pay myself. And what I typically do with those funds is I invest them, whether it be in real estate or actually into stocks, bonds, or annuities. I pay myself in that way, and it gives me the ability to see the fruits of my labor outside of a checking account. And that's important as well sometimes too, because you want to feel like you're working towards or building something outside of your bank account. Now, seeing money in your bank account is okay and it's great, but you want to see something continue to grow as well. And it's not something you typically see with most checking or banking accounts in general. Guys, be sure to smash that like and subscribe button so you'll get notifications about future videos with similar content like you saw in this video today. So guys, with that being said, we've covered 5 great steps that you can take today that will lead you to a path of financial success and being able to take control of your finances. Is there anything that you think you want to add that would be a great or additional tool that you can use to take advantage of your finances or lead you to a path of financial success? Leave a message in the comments and I'll be sure to address it with you guys. As always, guys, there is no goal that is unobtainable when you apply everyday finance. I'll see you guys in the next video.